So we're gonna do a warm-up set of 20 minutes, 2-minute poses. So we'll get started on that right now. Okay, Google, set timer for 20 minutes, 30 seconds. Okay, Google, set timer for 20 minutes, 30 seconds.
20 minutes and 30 seconds. Starting now.
Giddy. All right, let's see. Let's pick a good starter pose. That's a good one. Now I have to kick off the stream beats. Let's do it, stream beats. There we go. Just start that. Put in the normal loop that it goes on. We're good to go. So, the name of the game today is just going to be kind of taking it slow and experimenting and stuff and trying to have some fun with it. I've got some ideas that I'm kind of warming up to. So you're going to be seeing me, practice some figure drawing devices badly that I'm trying to get reintegrated back into my bloodstream that I practiced previously. One of them is a Riley abstraction that's probably going to be coming up a little bit more when we get more into Steve Houston stuff. But here you're going to see me using it in Quick Sketch, and I'll talk through what it is and how to, if you want to try using it yourself. But it is a tricky little devil, but it is very fun once you get more into how to use it. I may actually wind up just using like a really short, handy version of it that's not really as elaborate as I need to get with it eventually, I think. It would be probably best for me to stick with the simplified version of it. There's a more complex version that has like ovals and other things drawn into it, but I think this version might work a little better for the quick sketch, for this quick sketch stuff when I'm starting to kind of get into the gear with this. But the reason why I'm practicing this approach is because this is kind of in tune with Steve Houston's approach to figure drawing that he teaches, which is integrating direct shape, gesture and shape directly in with each other. So like the line of action is embedded in these structures that I've created the figure quick sketch out of. Oh, also, I have some homework today for people to do. I've resolved from now on, anytime I assign homework, it has to be something that I've done, so I can show you how you're kind of, supposed to do it without, assigning something and then me being a lazy bones and then doing it. So I do have a homework assignment for everyone in here to do, and I'll be showing that in a little bit after we get done with this little break. It's going to be filling up a page of line of action studies, because I think it'd be a good idea for people to reorient themselves with line of action, or for newcomers to get acquainted with understanding line of action. So I'll be showing you how to set that up. You can set up something, and not only that, part of the homework assignment is learning how to gather reference for yourself. So you have to hunt for the reference for yourself for this one. But it's going to be, you have to do a ton of line of action studies, basically. Or as many as you're able to. I'll show the version that I did. Like, I got enough into the swing of things that with mine that I was able to get like 225 line of action studies. And this pose looking a little stiff. I'm gonna have to figure, like, that's always the danger with doing this approach too early. Like, this poses can sometimes become stiff because you start to get a little bit too precious with them, but that's part of the fun of warm-ups. Good luck with this pose, newcomers. Just do your best. When you do get a complex pose like this, just start thinking of the body like in the simplest possible terms, like there we go. That's just like the body. That's the loop to the hip. Goes out over there. And then look at this. There's a secondary line of action for the other leg. And then I have this kind of rhythm that's sort of playing off this rhythm here of the hand sort of coming up and wrapping around the leg there. I think there's another rhythm going through here somewhere. And that's creating the rhythm of the hand here, the finger kind of pointing out. And I think this could be squished down a little bit more than how I drew it. But that's just an example of like how to start breaking down shapes of a really complicated pose like this. Yeah, it's very important, everyone here, you have to assume this pose if you want to draw it. You have to assume this pose while you're drawing it. Is Riley really complicated? Not that complicated. There's more complicated ways to do the Riley method, but it's kind of like something that you really kind of have to warm up to because it's a really tricky method. You kind of have to, there's some other draftsmanship things you kind of have to digest before you get really into it. Let's see, I'm kind of using some stuff here. I was just testing something out real quick. All right, so this baseball player. Let me see if I can put a Riley method torso in here. Maybe talk a little bit about it. I'm going to show the device and stuff and what Riley method torsos look like, stuff. After we get done here. But the thing is like you're going to be seeing me basically doing a shitty version of the Riley method tonight. So don't pick them up on my bad habits. I'm going to point you towards artists that are way better than me on using the Riley method, and I advise studying and copying from them instead of me. Let's see, we got these landmarks right here. I'm still being way too precious with my drawing right now. I may actually like deviate from this like kind of overly clean approach that I'm taking right now to kind of loosen up and draw like really dirty in a little bit. I'll probably do that for the next pose. Because drawing like this will kind of stiffen me up and kind of make me lose the feeling of the drawing or the feeling of the pose. But sometimes I kind of want to like go clean and try to make clean, clear shapes. Just to kind of gauge myself. All right, so this pose right here, I think I'll go a little bit more grungy with it, but not too much. Because for this pose, I kind of want to concentrate on the simple line of action going through it. So to summarize the figure. Actually, I think I got that wrong. Let's see here. There's this and that. Yeah, there's like that. Terminates up at the knee up here. A directional guide for the head, a loose directional guide for the head there. Secondary line of action here for the other arm. Then define the torso a little bit more without really overdoing it. I want to keep it simple. There's a lot of complex things happening here, so I just want to kind of just go with simplicity right now. So one of the very Steve Houston-y things that I'm going to be utilizing tonight is often I'll be doing stuff like this, where like I draw in a shape like this, and then I add like cylinders to it or boxy ends to it, like this. You're going to be seeing me do a lot of that tonight. Like let me see if I can show a good example of it on this. So I'll just try to do like a quick, simple gestural jump in here for this one. So let's say we got this arm right here. I'll just like to do a little kind of ovoid shape about where I think the deltoid is placed on either side here. I'll wrap a little cylinder about here, where somewhere around where I think the elbow is, and I'll do like a little. I'll do another cylinder here, although I could use a box form down there for the end of that wrist. Now that I'm looking at her more, I think like her gesture line probably goes more like this, like she's leaning more kind of that way a bit more. That. So that's something that I would do if I was going to do this pose over again. Again, these are warm-up sets, so we're kind of getting in tune with this stuff. Yeah, like you can like take the magic of this kind of approach right here is you can take two lines that you've defined a shape with like this, and you can like just add ends to them, and suddenly it becomes a 3D shape. Cylindrical ends like are really easy, like ellipses and stuff, to tell you the up and down, but they don't tell you what side something is unless you draw like a line over it or something. The advantage of a box form, it's more complicated to draw this, but you immediately know what sides of it you're looking at. Like on a cylinder, you don't really see that. It's anyone's guess what side this is turned at, unless you add some kind of a marker to it, like this, for example. But with a box, you instantly know what side is facing you, what side is turned towards you, or a box form. And these are some of the basic building blocks of Steve Houston's approach. And his approach involves like, taking a figure like this. You break it down with you use like kind of the rhythms of its body to create kind of. I don't have enough time to do the full body, so I'm just going to do a vignette of the torso. But you can like then like go over what I just did here with these very simple lines and like define three-dimensionality of it. I'm going to add like a box former for the pelvis area here, for example. More cylinder forms over here. The rib cage is kind of an egg shape, so I'm going to turn that back into space, but I'm going to give it some landmarks of the. I'm going to dot in some anatomical landmarks of the corners of the rib cage, front of the body here. This is a marker right here, kind of like what you put on the front of the cylinder, but for the front of the body, right there. So I got this kind of little torso vignette, torso bend study. But at the same token, I'm going to do a little torso vignette here. How do you think I start this? Well, start it with just like 2 lines, or actually 3, because then I can do like this to sort of simplify the abstraction of the back. So now that I have this, what I do, I make some, I create like a box form of kind of like up here for the shoulders. And I got like this chest area right here. The chest is very puffed out, so I would probably even push that up a bit. Push that up a bit more. And curve that back in some more. For the pelvis, use a box form down about here-ish, I'd say. Corners of the pelvis there. So you have this kind of like simplified shape of what the torso is doing, bending over backwards in 3D space like that. And then I can potentially like add limbs onto it and stuff. Like, I'm not going to follow exactly what's on there, but I'm just going to show you like it's the same thing. I use like a couple like curved, slightly curved lines that are sort of following the general flow of what the pose is for the limbs. And then I can do the same thing that I was doing with the torso, which is like, oh, add a little cylinder here about where I think where the knee is, add another cylinder down here for the end point right here, where somewhere around where I think the unit of the thigh is attaching to the buttocks and the pelvis. Decide which plane of the foot is facing the audience and use maybe like kind of a box shape or something. I'm not going to dwell on it super long. Just kind of want to move on more, but here we go. Ankle, another ellipse here. Maybe throw in a little kind of a form here for the ankle itself. These are like abstract shapes. This is not like accurate anatomy or anything like that. This is just like playing with building blocks of making these figures. I'm enjoying this kind of slow, thoughtful approach of making abstract shapes out of stuff. So I think I may stick with it a little longer. One of the goals of today is to enjoy what you're doing, by the way. So whatever approach you're taking today, just try to have some fun. And just chill out, take a deep breath, relax. There we go. So we get this kind of curve over the body like this. It's a really nice expressive, like look at how that kind of wraps over the body like that. It's really nice. It's got a classic kick from Bruce Lee here. Start with his head, establish the head, so then I get a sense of like the general proportion of the figure, and now I can, let's see, now I can do what I was doing earlier with the torso stuff. I use a really light touch. Think about I'm thinking in the back of my head about all the wild gesture drawing we're doing throughout the week, but I'm going to be trying to exercise some restraint when doing this and see what I can do when I'm a little bit more controlled. Bruce Lee is really fun to study from photos because the dude's a fucking walking anatomy study. Get tons of stills from Enter the Dragon, and there's like a lot of torso anatomy to learn from that for sure. Okay, Google, stop. This will be our last pose of this set before we take a little 5-minute break. Maybe, yeah. Okay, Google, set timer for 7 minutes.
7 minutes, and we're starting now.
So I will talk a little bit more about the Riley method thing, because you can actually use like a kind of a more loosey-goosey version of it to play with. Like these tools, you should be free to play with and break and use more seriously as you desire. Stuff like the Riley method is stuff that can be learned, memorized, and then broken, or just played with. Doesn't mean be lazy, but it becomes a lot less intimidating if you have the ability to play with and mess up and break models like the Riley method. You give yourself the space to just mess around with something. So I'm going to maybe try digging in a little bit harder for the next set with pushing my expression stuff. I'm still kind of warming up. I'm using a different pen tool tonight, so like my figures are kind of on the like on the really delicate side. So we'll see how it goes. Anyway, I'll pause it on like this. So yeah, the Riley method is a figure drawing system that was designed like in the early 20th century. And Riley method abstractions, there's head abstractions and there's figure abstractions. Here's an example of one of the figure abstractions right here. Here is the basic template for a Riley method figure right here. There's other modified versions of this. Here's a really complex one from Watts Atelier right there. Here's another one. I'm not sure what this is from, but this is a pretty alright example of a Riley method. Let's see, are these good? Yeah, these are good examples right here for sure. And Bradwin Jones, figure drawing exercise using the Riley method. Yeah. Yeah, maybe this person would be somebody to check out instead of me if you wanted to dig more into this. Because I'm not anywhere near as good as this dude at it. Like this dude like the stage that we're concentrating on is the kind of the Riley method rhythm stage, like this stage that he's on right here. But he has enough anatomy knowledge that he can layer in anatomical stuff and shapes and so on to it.
So probably.
But the stage that I'm mainly concentrating on today is this right here. This Riley Rhythms stage. Like this kind of stuff. And this thing right here. In fact, let's just put this up over here. Sorry, Bluto. Up over here in the corner it goes. I actually think I'm gonna like I don't really have a need to have Yo-Yo Shinari on screen today, so save that. Close that. Beef that up. There we go. And that'll be the new space size ratio on the Twitch channel. For looking at why do the humans look Art Deco? Well, the Riley method. The Riley method was developed around the same time like Art Deco came into vogue. So that's part of it. It's a very industrialized way to approach the human figure. Here's some Riley method heads right here. You can use Riley method for caricature also. But Riley method head abstractions are also a thing right here. Here's a Riley method head abstraction. But we're taking a look at the figure a little bit today, just dipping our toes in it a little bit. The other thing I wanted to show is, let's see here. I don't think I have it handy, but I'll dig it out when I can. But today's homework that I'm assigning for people this week is I want you to get as many images together as you can. You don't have to go I did like 225 of them, but I want you to get as many images as you can, and I want you to do draw over line of action studies on them. Do at least one page of a ton of those. Gather images of like really well composed good figures from like Pinterest or from Pinterest or Google image search. Gather as many as you can and like just start doing draw overs of their line of action. Like for example, this guy right here. Actually, let me see if I can just yank a photo from the internet to show. Let's see here. Photo. Athlete photo. Let's see if I can find some examples here. So there's a photo of an athlete here. For example, actually, you know what? I'll just import. I'll import my original worksheet that I was doing these studies on, and then I can just show you what I want people to do this week. There it is. Here's a giant ass worksheet I made for myself. So it opens. This thing is ridiculously fucking huge. But what I did was I made a giant ass image board out of like 225 images. Like, okay, Google, stop. We'll be going back to another set in a little bit, but I want to show you, I want to detour into this real quick. So what I did was I went through and I tried to find simple or more complex or secondary lines of action on all these poses. Like for example, and I tried not to take more than 30 seconds on each pose. But I try to look for like, I try to look mainly for C curves, S curves, and straight curves to describe them with. Like, and sometimes I'll do something like that. Other times, like I might do like a really simple line of action or something, like this. Sometimes I'll put arrows on the end of them and stuff. But mainly I want you guys just like kind of vibing with the line of action and primary and secondary line of actions that you're seeing in these poses. I want you to think about how these lines are traveling through 3D space as you're drawing over them. Adding little arrows to the ends of them can kind of help you give you a direction in which stuff is going. Sometimes you can do that, for example, if you like. Just experiment with stuff that helps you wrap your head around what these figures are doing. Like that. Oops, let's get a little complicated there. Let's see here. Like this guy right here. Try to look for like the simplest line sometimes to describe something like that. Other times, like you can, instead of like getting really complicated with the limbs, like instead of doing that, you can just do this. You can definitely do it like on these ones where you really see that curve. This is a painting, by the way, that I'm doing a draw over of this golfer. You can like really see like the rhythm of the body. That, but you cannot. But you can make it a little complex sometimes if you want, just to experiment. I want people to kind of vibe with the pose. I want people to look for the simplest line of action like this, but then it's okay to kind of work in there. Experiment with some of the more complex and secondary stuff. Maybe like make a simple secondary line of action or something. The name of the game is experimentation here, and like on this one, for example, I'm really like emphasizing the bow of her body there with that lean of the pose. The point of doing this, by the way, well, in addition to kind of like understanding like, you know, how these secondary limbs move through 3D space when doing those, the main purpose of doing this is to kind of start thinking of the pose as a singular unit and being able to communicate the pose with a single line. So I want people doing a sheet of these this week. And I also want you to hopefully do some 30-second time poses of not drawovers, but of timed copy studies, 30-second poses, preferably after you've done warm-ups on doing drawovers like this. But your sheet should look something like, if you get like something like this, it should look something like this. You give yourself 30 seconds to make the drawings, to make these decisions. I didn't even need to add that in there. I could have just left it like, it's just like a cuneiform looking thing for that. But I want you to do a sheet of this, do at least one sheet of this, and do at least one sheet of 30-second time poses. Try to look for like the main thrust of the pose and any other secondary things that are reinforcing it, like this guy. Curve to his body. There's the thrust of the action, I think. And there's like the thrust of the pose there. Yeah, that's the homework. And we'll get started on another figure drawing set now. Okay, Google, set timer for 20 minutes, 30 seconds. Okay, Google, set timer for 20 minutes, 30 seconds.
20 minutes and 30 seconds. And that's starting now.
All right, we'll start right in this pose here. So, as far as the Riley abstraction goes, I'm not going to get too crazy into it, but the main thing you want to utilize with it is you want to establish a head, for one thing. I like using this little kind of triangle wedge right here. That's kind of representative of like like this is somewhere around here is the bottom of the nose, and these are like the cheeks. The eyes would go somewhere in here, usually. But usually start with a head, but then like let's see here. I'll do like kind of a, its torso is not perfectly going to be straight on. It's going to be curved a little bit. So you get like straight line for the top of a torso at rest. There's the little front of the neck right there. And this would be the center line of the torso. Decided for that. But essentially, like, you kind of establish the top and the bottom of the pose of the torso. And you get these top rhythms that come down from the sides of the neck, like this, and connect to the bottom here. Of like where the pelvis is. The rhythms on the shoulders right here work something like this, where they curve down to the pit of the crotch right here, create this kind of double triangle sort of thing. Like you could even, if you wanted to like play with it like this, you could even think of it like two Doritos, kind of. Two bendy Doritos, basically. That's like one of the basic ideas of the Riley movement. And then like you can use these kind of simplified forms for like the deltoids, and you like use these very, very simple parallel lines coming off of the limbs. Coming off of the limbs here. I'm gonna have to close some additional files here. Otherwise I'm gonna be dealing with autosave a bunch this evening. Basically, the rhythm, establishing the rhythms like this is like the first step. Then you start going in, you start breaking up the shapes more, adding more like indicators of three-dimensionality to them and so on. But again, I'm doing the method kind of really clunkily this evening. That's okay. Like that's why you do quick sketch sessions like these in order to kind of get your chops up. And these sessions are practice sessions for me as much as they are for you guys too. So let's see, top of the shoulders coming down to the pit of the crotch. Get this kind of cube in here for the pelvis a bit. Should be more like back over here, maybe. Riley method will definitely come up some more when we're dipping into Steve Houston stuff next week. We're also going to be getting back into some Alex Wu stuff, so we'll be combining a few interesting things in the following week. Like I'm trying to introduce Steve Houston right now because I want to get more kind of perspective and shape integrity into our draftsmanship for these practice sessions. It's a really nice pose, pair of poses actually. But if I can abstract them in a simple way, I can just do this. Use these big long lines of action for the directions of what's happening, the drama right here, the focus that's happening between the two figures on that ball between them, way up there. Then I can start kind of roughing in some secondary lines of other things that are happening, like the tilt of that dude's shoulders there. His body kind of actually bulges out. Oh, the line of action actually kind of bulges out a little bit more that way for him, I think. Some very interesting figures here. Take another detour to kind of drill my abstraction real quick. Let's see, pit of the neck. Something like this, I think, would work. So one thing to watch out for when you're doing this, like, to watch your proportions. They're apparently going to, because this is quick sketch, the proportions are inherently going to be kind of off. But you can adjust them a little bit to something that feels a little bit better. Usually by placing the length of the foot, the position of the foot in this case, from the bottom of the leg. You're sort of using to establish the length of the leg versus the length of the body. I think it could be a little bit further. I think it's because I made the pit of the crotch really low on the pelvis there. Let me try this actually here. Tilting the pelvis forward some more, maybe give him some more anchoring. Yeah, I'm not hugely fluent with this abstraction yet, but you can see like if you start getting in tune with it, how it's not too hard to kind of invent figures with it. Because the limbs are drawn like really simple when you're first putting them on. The main thing is establishing the torso and the head. Getting the rhythms of the limbs and established is relatively easy compared to establishing the torso. Because the initial abstraction of the limbs is like it's usually like intersecting lines or like parallel lines and stuff. That's this, there's that tiny dancer from the song Tiny Dancer. Really? But you can see, like, if you get fluent with this method, you can use it to, like, get some, like, pretty, like, plausible looking figures. And you can distort these figures to make them into, like, different characters or kind of anime poses and stuff. You'll actually see a lot of anime artists using approaches very similar to what I'm using here with the Riley method figures. Let's see what I can do with this. This is I'd have to break this down like from the rear a little bit, but I'm going to try to see if I can challenge myself a bit. So let's see. So here's the tilt of the shoulders. Maybe get the curve of the neck in there. Let's get like the nape of the neck right there, back of the neck. Let's maybe use that as like the center line point going down. Curve of the back. That maybe. Since her legs are kind of important to the rhythm of her body, I'm just gonna connect them up with the torso right here. But then I'm gonna have to go in and break them apart from each other a little bit. So let's see. Just add some quick rhythm gestures for the directions of the limbs. Get her head direction established a little better. torso's looking a little bulky, upper torso. So I'm probably gonna shrink that a bit. Let's see, the buttocks kind of turns in like that, so maybe something like this. Use the rhythm neck here, the back. Use the rhythm from the corners of the shoulder a little bit there. It's a little bit, it's pretty tricky. Riley method from the back is something I need to definitely dig more into for sure. I wanted to challenge myself there. That guy's a little odd. I'm gonna maybe take a little detour and do a quick kind of face study. Good to mix it up sometimes when doing sets. Little 2-minute heads quick sketch. Not the best, but nice to do little detours like that. Let's darken in some stuff here before I move on. Okay, so we got this interesting figure here. Got a great expression, but I'm only gonna get like the barest hint of it here. So let's see what I can do with this in the time that I have left. Because I have the power of the Riley abstraction on my side, I can extrapolate information on this and keep working on it potentially, even when it goes to another pose. Which is probably what I'm going to do. And that's a key phrase right there, getting these tools on your side. These tools are your friends. You want to get to know them and be able to use them and call them up freely. So let's see here. Yeah, I'm using the rhythm right here from the shoulders. Using the rhythm from the back there. Good. Yeah. Yeah, pulled it off. So a quick 1-minute Riley study. Awful lot of ballet dancers because I'm using like a giant ass mega mix of stuff from my my figure drawing folder. this weekend on Sunday, I'm going to have to be replenishing my figure drawing stocks, So I'll be working on that tomorrow. But for now, this is a giant mix of a lot of gymnasts and pretty much everything else we've used in my figure drawing classes till now. Just a giant, like, fruit salad casserole of figure drawing this weekend. Yeah, I'm gonna do the I'm gonna do the I'm in two places at well, no. That. I was thinking of like using my alt account in on like my personal server for this evening so that we could get some more banter from the class, some more voice chat banter from the class. If I do that, it'll be during one of the breaks, I think. Ready? So this lady right here, she's got a clearly easy to spot torso. Establish the head, C curve of the neck, little nape of the neck. See, her shoulders are doing something like this. They're kind of tilting that way a bit, I think. So that one's lower, this one's higher. Center line is doing this kind of S curve. Down the front here to the crotch. Do you have enough space? Yeah, I have enough space. Zoom back a bit. A trick to finding these rhythms is you can like, well, if you got a digital pen, you can do what I'm doing, but you can also like hold your, if you're doing like it's in front of photographs or in front of a live figure model, you can hold the pencil up and close one eye and draw over the rhythm in space, and it becomes kind of like a cheat sheet for the rhythm for you, basically. So I didn't give enough time to get the upper limbs, but that's okay. This can be a vignette. So I'm still trying to learn this figure model. Okay, Google, stop. Okay, Google, set timer for 7 minutes.
Done. 7 minutes added to your 20-minute and 30-second timer.
Let's maybe add that. A little bit of an indication of her hair there. That may be more of an indication of her jaw, front of her face. So we get a C curve here. Use X-ray vision to find the pit of her neck there. Kind of guesstimate where the top of her shoulders are pre-posed, probably something like there. The other one's going to be over here. And then use that front of the torso to find a kind of a pseudo line of action that tracks down the front of her chest and goes down to goes down through that foot like that. Like that. Then I'll maybe like throw in this kind of opposing rhythm here. But her torso is doing this like severe bend here, so keep that in mind. Nope, we'll go back to her, but yeah, we're supposed to be on break for this, but let's like throw in some indications of her limbs here. These are 2-minute poses after all. I may actually do some longer poses tonight, maybe some 5s. Be cool. 3s and 5s. So today's kind of a chill day. Maybe today is a time to really slow down and think, you know, instead of like charging in the way that we usually do with like our short pose classes. This might be a good day this Saturday to change up the pace a little bit and slow down and think. You can see there's little bits and pieces of stuff that we've been practicing throughout the weeks in here. There's bits of the line of action. There's bits of like floor grids and correlating the limbs to each other. Indication of the foreshortening there a little bit. All right, I think we should take a look at what people are doing for today in the drawing corner chat or the classroom chat. So let's take a look at what people are up to here. We have got another 2 hours of this, by the way. Another 2 hours of figure drawing. Go. Let's get a quick overview. That's pretty nice. That leg right there, though, the way it's bulging out kind of there sort of throws it off a bit. I think it needs to, like, he's standing on his leg there, so that's kind of terminated into a straight that's going down from his leg there. So he needs to look a little bit more like he's anchored, say. I see you trying to struggle with like direction of the limbs and stuff. That's good. And you're trying to push your rhythms and stuff. This one, this character's kind of turned over to the side a bit, and I think you were trying to change the pose up, but it kind of loses its sense of balance for me when it does that. I do like the overall rhythm though to it. This one, cover up the left limb, and the rest of it looks okay to me. Something about this right here that needs to be like kind of loosened up. It doesn't necessarily have to follow what the pose up there is doing exactly, but like something about this is a little bit stiff to me. That limb specifically. There you go. Really trying to push yourself a bit. That's cool. And then traditional paper. I do encourage people to mix it up with doing these traditionally too. Some more stuff from arts and let's see, you got any more from people? It's neat. Some of the warm-up set. That's really nice. Good job, pencil. Wait, is this Yeah. Very nice. Cannot upload it. Yeah. That's weird. Well, I mean, if you're having trouble with that, maybe upload it to an off-site thing like Imager, and then you can just link the image that you upload to chat. These are nice. Some of them get a little confused, but there are ones that have really good rhythm, like that one, this one, that one, so on. This one gets a little confused, I think. But yeah, and this one get a little confused, but there's there's quite a few of them in here, like this one, for example, that do have really good rhythm to them. Looking at this again, like I think some minor adjustments would be neat, but overall it has a pretty good feel. I think it could be pushed more actually, if anything. All right, so we're gonna go back to the set. Okay, Google, stop. So I'm thinking I might actually change things up a bit. I did enjoy drawing Riley method, but I think it's time to kind of switch my tool back to Real G Pen. Is that on Real G Pen? That's my Mappy pen, isn't it? Here's Real G Pen. I'm gonna switch back to Real G Pen. Here is mechanical pencil that I was also using, but I'm gonna do Real G Pen. And I'm gonna set timer for, okay, Google, set timer for 20 minutes, 30 seconds. We'll do another
20 minutes and 30 seconds. And that's starting now.
Okay, and now I'm going to try to loosen up a bit. So I'm going to use an approach that involves, like, I can lift my pencil off the paper some, but I need to vibe with the overall feeling of the pose. Like, I'm deliberately trying to not be precious with my drawings anymore. I need to just dig in and try to connect with the feeling of the pose stuff. So I think we'll do some more. We'll do some quick poses for this, and then we might do some fives after this, because I want to see where this stuff is going to go. So I'm going to start getting warmed up into kind of a more rhythmic, expressive, exaggerated approach, which is in tune with what we've been doing this last week. So you see this is like quite a bit different from how I was drawing a few minutes ago. So I have the ability to like try to be precious and slow down and think, versus this kind of more pushed approach, where I just go for it. But I'm going to try to see if I can combine the two this evening somehow. I think I can push confidence and exaggeration and rhythm and feeling, while also slowing down to an extent and thinking, and maybe applying some of the Riley method with rhythms more confidently. Something like this. Instead of slowing down and measuring and being precise with it, I just start running through it. Oh, skip that one. So I'll start with this lady here. First one was like a kind of a quick jab at it, but here we go. So this lady's head here. Gonna jump right in. Her neck. Let's exaggerate stuff a little bit. Let's have some fun with it. Her like platform shoes kind of lend themselves to playing with this, playing with like exaggerating them a bit too. It's kind of nice. As you can see, I'm still using the Riley method rhythms. I'm still trying to think about what I'm doing a bit, but I'm also kind of like not being afraid to jump right in to an extent. Just go for things. Maybe spread out the feet a bit. That's a really fun little rhythmic pose there. So with it now, like what slowing down and thinking is informing me is the acting of the pose. Like, I'm thinking of these poses as being like actors I can like riff on, or I turn them into an actor inside my head. I'm thinking of a certain mood or something when I'm trying to play with the figure a bit. So for this one, I think I might actually try making it into a silhouette study a little bit. So let's try that. Let's fill this in. Now this is deviating wildly from the Riley method stuff I was doing earlier, but that's okay. So I just wanted to dip my toes in that. I'm going to be getting way more into that stuff later this week. I'll probably use it some more this evening too. Right now I'm just kind of looking. I'm playing the role of an opportunist at the moment because I want to get my blood pumping a bit. Yeah, maybe I should make like this whole page a bunch of silhouette studies. Let's do that. That might be fun. Just going back on over on this one and turning it into a silhouette study. Cool thing about silhouette studies is they make a really, really fun readable page. Let's see, I'm not gonna fill in the silhouette of her hair because I think I like that shape, kind of framing her head up there. The rest of the figure I am going to fill in the silhouette. And we'll make a separate layer because I don't really want to destroy the nice rhythmic lines I started with for this kind of abstract quick gesture. Of course, I redesigned the silhouette slightly, like from what she's actually doing. Like I made this foot bigger up here. And I separated it out from the body a bit more. shift away from that. Doing silhouettes kind of ties into the line of action stuff that I was showing you. Like that's like a basic line of action type thing. But I'm using that as a starting point for finding my silhouette. There we go. This page's already looking pretty fun. So for this one, this hand kind of overlaps into the negative space here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep that white, and then the rest is going to be like a shadow fill. I drew that really fucking big, so we'll shrink that. The reason why I deviated to this is like that Riley method thing is great. It's fantastic. I'm going to be practicing more. And I think the act of slowing down to think is great. But I kind of need to wrap my head around making a singular unified statement with the pose that I'm drawing right now. So I'm getting way too precious with my drawing. Like I should be giving myself permission to play with it, make mistakes, and fuck up. It's a little bit tricky to do that when you're trying to like practice a formulaic method like that. At least not at first. Like I'm planning on like playing with it a lot freer throughout the next week, along with the other stuff that I have that Steve Houston has in how he teaches. Trying a quick fill right now. See how that looks. Down a bit. There we go. So what I'm trying to go for with these is when you zoom out, you should be able to tell what the figure is doing at a glance. Shouldn't be any confusion about what the figure is, what pose the figure is taking, or what the figure is like functionally doing. Actually, I think I'm going to change it up again. So that was a fun silhouette page, so I'm going to switch gears again. I wanted to do that to kind of warm up my spatial awareness a bit. I think actually, let's see. I'll see if I can maybe get into doing this guy and maybe combine him with a bit of some of the Riley method stuff. But let's try this guy that I've been using for the last few weeks. I'll just throw this in and make it kind of loose and rhythmic. And I think that this might work pretty well. This, and maybe darken in stuff like that underneath the chin. Maybe I should do the double line for the leg volume and maybe define the pelvis a little better. And throw ovals and box forms in. That might work really nice, actually. Just keep it loose, though. So I don't know about trying it on that. Let's see. Let's use this pose. So shrink that a bit more so I get more space. I'll try this puppet out that I've developed a couple more times. Hopefully we can get a more kind of plain pose to try it on than the gymnast stuff. Okay, Google, how much time left on timer?
5 seconds to go.
Goody. Okay, Google, stop. Lovely. All right, so yeah, that was a nice little fun page of silhouettes. Switching up the way that I'm approaching the figure sometimes helps me look at it with fresh eyes, because I was getting pretty precious with my drawing here. Getting a little bit too timid. This is kind of where we left off last night, by the way. It's more kind of loose figures that we were doing. Like, we were kind of vibing with Yo-Yo Shinari stuff and exaggeration and other things. So I'll have to take another look at what people are up to. Oh yeah, this is a warm-up sheet I did of the figure puppet that I was talking about that I've been using for the last few weeks. Like, I have some other examples of the thing here. This kind of gestural figure puppet that is used for rough animation an awful lot. Yeah, let's take a look at what people have been doing in chat. Cool. Yeah, really trying to push that. So I noticed that like when you are pushing it, like some of the stuff starts to kind of break. Like the interlocking joints of the limbs start to kind of fall and get flimsy. That kind of, that's something that you got to kind of wrestle with over time. Yeah, let's see here. Yeah, Raboots keeps improving more and more. Like Raboots is actually using floor grids very successfully now, and I like these little action kind of study-looking things that he's doing here. Oh, these are nice. Sketchy face. Wait, did you do these right here? Or how much of this is you, by the way? Or are these referenced from something? Because I think I saw some of this posted to Twitter. Or are you imitating this up here? Because those are really nice. Regardless of if they were by you or if you're just showing them as an example. Yeah, those are really, really nice. Those are excellent. Really pushed. Yeah, these are nice, pushed, expressive, fun. Definitely, yeah. Kind of makes me want to vibe with that. That's not really the focus of the evening, though. This evening, we're just taking it chill. It's kind of open-ended how we're approaching it today. For me, today's kind of like a triage day because I'm sort of like winding down at the end of the week after a long week of figure drawing. Because we've been practicing Monday, Wednesday, Friday this week. Like, just to give you a scope of what I've been doing this week, the sheer volume of everything that I've done for this last week. First of all, there's the class demos from this last week, and then there's like a bunch of dated stuff in here where I was doing even more stuff. It gets pretty crazy. And in spite of that, I feel like there's more I could have done this week. I'm going to be trying to step it up even more next week. I think is mine, except the pick in the top left corner. Yeah, I figured the one on the up. That's really cool. Like, what resources were you going through for studying? Well, obviously this. Feel free to link where these resources that you were looking at here, by the way. But I see like you're trying to design your own action poses here, which is good. Well, it looks like you're taking a similar idea from what you're seeing in some of these poses, and you're trying to design your own sort of approach and play with it. Like I see you like using the really kind of exaggerated floor grids, Starman figures and stuff. Yeah, this is definitely the vibe of stuff we want to study. We want to dig into more um, for storyboarding stuff, for sure. So stuff like this is going to be part of our approach in the coming weeks, for sure. Yeah, good old Starman. Starman is that simple abstract figure that storyboard artists use an awful lot. It's often like this little kind of guy like this, or like what Sketchy Face was drawing. Sometimes you have like a center line for the body, not always, but like Starman can be like really kind of very crazy and abstract. Because they are shorthand figures and stuff like. In spite of being like super abstract, they still follow like the rules of perspective and how they're used. They're modular too, so like if you feel like you need to put on like the end of a limb, something like that, for example, you can do that. We should be ready for another set shortly. Quitting time today will be at 5:30, which means we have another hour and a half, I believe. I'm going to give people a little bit of extra time. I need to get up and walk around a bit and refresh somewhat. So let's see here. Let's see if anybody else has got some choicey bits to post in here that they posted in here. That was from the previous sets. Trying to work with pen. Yeah, a lot of people are doing more traditional stuff, which is good. Mix it up. Try to push your confidence. Like, try to get more confident strokes. Don't feel free to like just kind of just fuck around with the materials as much as you can, you know, and try to develop a sense for them. If you're going to use traditional materials, try to use them try to like get a little bit of traditional sketching in every day if you can, so you get fluent with the material that you're using. So you get really used to the ins and outs of how like the pen handles and stuff. I'm gonna get a sip of water real quick because it's roasting hot. Yeah, very nice sketchy face. It was a good job. Good stuff. Definitely dig out more of that stuff. We'll take a look at it and post it in my Discord next time you're around for sure. We can look at some more of that stuff together. That stuff is like primo gold material to look at and vibe with. Like I said, today is kind of a loose, chill day. I'm trying out different drawing methods and stuff that I've been practicing for the last few weeks, and also kind of dipping a little bit into the Riley method, Steve Houston stuff, but I'm not strictly sticking to it. Sort of playing it by ear and seeing what helps engage me. Sketchy Face showed off some stuff with the Starman, and that's making me go, I want to practice Starman. So I might do that for the next set. Starmen are fun to draw once you get into them too. They're really simple, easy, quick to do, expressive. You can capture a surprising amount of gesture and movement in them. They're modular, so you can add or subtract detail as you need. You can tell a whole story just with their abstract poses too. That's what they're there for. Alright, I think we're about ready for another set, so okay, Google, set timer for 20 minutes, 30 seconds.
20 minutes and 30 seconds. Starting now.
Start on her. Don't know if this would be a great pose to do the Starman on. I'm gonna try to improvise something together. Just using simple shapes, abstractions here. Let's add a little bit of exaggeration here. I think like her limb could be exaggerated a bit. There's a lot more kind of the messy approach I was talking about earlier that I wanted to get into to loosen up more with. Need to play with that a bit more. Some of it will be the Starman, wherever I see an opportunity to do so, like maybe here a little bit. Just a really pushed perspective plane down there. And the Starman omits features like feet and hands usually. It's a very simple gesture line. Or a gesture shape, rather. This week's been really great fun, though. I really enjoyed this past week. All the ridiculous amount of drawing that I got in. I learned a lot these last 2 weeks in particular. I'm looking forward to doing even more. This session kind of feels like to me, the session's a little loosey-goosey, not gonna lie, but that's okay. We had a really good week. And doing a session that's kind of an inventory of what we practiced throughout the week, plus a little bit of triage to kind of ease out of things. Think about some stuff. Think about what's coming down the pipe soon. Yeah, let's play with that Riley abstraction again, but in kind of like a very hyper abstract form, or a hyper exaggerated form, maybe. Let's try this, because you can actually do a lot of exaggeration with the Riley method. You can turn it into like really kind of crazy pushed rhythms, because it is functionally just like a rhythm system. And rhythms can always be distorted and exaggerated. So let's see what I can do. How can I play with the Riley method? Make it more like my friend. So I want to be using this throughout the next week. And the only way to really make something your friend is to, like, on your own, just practice it like crazy and make it like regular shorthand and have fun with it for hours. And I plan on doing that with this. I'm just kind of starting to get to know it now. It's a very kind of Bob Rossy way of thinking about figure drawing tools being your friends. Because even the tough, challenging tools of draftsmanship, they are not there to be your enemy. They are there to be your buddy. You got to get to know your buddy and spend time with them, so you kind of understand how they flow. And both for this and like the Steve Houston approach for figure drawing, some stuff I want to start integrating a little bit more in my work. Like, I want to have like an intuitive kind of sense of the abstractions of the Riley rhythms a little bit more, so I can get stuff that's a little bit more figurative, a little bit more like kind of spot-on figurative, but also has the ability to be distorted rhythmically and exaggerated. And I was thinking about that when we were looking at the Invincible trailer. Because in order to draw those figures, you have to have a pretty good, solid sense of figure construction. And Riley method is at the root of a lot of really good figure construction. It is an industrialized, abstract approach to drawing the figure. And it is worth becoming intimately familiar with it and practicing it. Let's see, for this dude right here, I'll try inventing a head for him. Then he's got clavicle right here. Center line going down here. Let's maybe make his feet like here, kind of. Something like that. I kind of work my way backwards a little bit from the torso. But he's going to have looping over the back round of his shoulders are going to be the front rhythms of the Riley method going down to the pit of the crotch there, just about. He's going to have shoulder over here, shoulder over there. Oh, let's go back to him actually. I want to spend a little bit extra time with him. This box of the pelvis, and here at this kind of interesting tilt. It's kind of playing off how it looks. It's a little bit more exaggerated than how he's actually tilting his hips. That's because kind of plays off what he's doing with his pocket there. So that shoe's going that way, that shoe's going this way a little bit more. Don't worry too much about getting the shoes and the feet quite right. Zoom back from this bit. Lower body's going to be pretty weirdly proportioned because because of the warping that's going on in this photo. That's okay. Just having fun with this figure. Alright, so he's got this arm back over here that's kind of behind him, going into this pocket here. And he's got this other arm that's doing this. A bit like that. Again, going into the pocket there. So if we can correlate the limbs, the other hand's probably somewhere around here. And then maybe we can push the legs a little bit and reposition the feet slightly. And emphasize that. Emphasize that interesting little kind of angle of the body. Actually, I think this leg's pretty like this. Yeah. Let's beef up the head size a little bit. Get kind of an abstract figure pose, fun little figure pose to mess with more later. This gal's in a suit of armor, which thankfully has generously given us little kind of landmarks of where what her torso is doing. It's a very plain pose, but it does have weight to it. So I'm going to find that kind of an abstract rhythm down to the feet right there, just to kind of establish the full figure. Let's see the pit of the neck about here. Let's see, their rib cage would be about here, I think. I think her knee is a little bent there. Tricky, tricky. I got a little confused on that pose, but just gotta move on. I kind of got caught up in the detail of her armor, so it kind of threw me off a bit, I think. Oh well. I can go into this pose, which is very clear about what it's doing. You can use this as an opportunity to, let's see here, she's got her center line of her body kind of doing a twist like this. Her hips are kind of tilting, actually, in there. The box of the hips kind of facing this way a bit. Shoulder is kind of hunched up over there. I think her rib cage, like we can see the underside of her rib cage, like kind of like this. So we got this box right here with the front of the pelvis. That. So then we'll just attach these limbs here. So we can use this from the Riley method to simplify limbs, just like a pair of parallel lines curving off into space, maybe straight against curve, We don't need more than this if we're just throwing in the indication of the limbs for a quick sketch. We just need the gestural indication of what the limb is doing. An interesting pose. I'm going to try to abstract it as much as I can to get this kind of curve shape right here for the torso. Then this kind of wedge shape here for the side of the torso. Maybe beef up the head size a little bit. Get the center line going down here. Just straight against this little kind of double curve sort of thing. A very, very simple abstraction. You can tap in the corners of the shoulders there for a Riley method curve over the body to kind of feel out the side planes. The torso. Let's see here. The landmarks of the pelvis. Iliac crest about here. Ish. Somewhere around here, maybe. Let's do like a little triangle shape for the hand there, and put another triangle in there for the palm. Simple shape for the limb. It's going to connect here. There we go. Didn't get the whole thing, but that was fun. Kind of mess with breaking down and abstracting. Bow and arrow action, yeah, definitely. That was the bow and arrow in action for sure. And from the vibe I got from doing that last one, I'm going to kind of carry over some of it to this. Use a little bit of the Riley abstraction, just a bit. This pose is doing something really wild, so see that. So we use a little bit of the Riley simplification of the limbs there. Use it a bit on these. Just get like some simple kind of block-in shapes. You can use it for the perspective on the shape of the skateboard here that's up against the wall. Get those blocked in, we may round it off a bit. Correlate the limbs to each other. So. Get a little blocking of the hair there. Head's looking a little big, but it's okay. This was a fun study for what it was. Put maybe like a little circle in there for the leg. About ready to move on. So this is 2 figures, so I may give us a little extra time to do it. Let's see here. Start with this guy because his torso is more visible. We can see that we can physically see the pit of his neck there. Okay, Google, stop. Pause on these guys. Actually, yeah, we'll take a break right here. Okay, Google, set timer for 5 minutes. Okay, Google, set timer for 5 minutes.
5 minutes, and we're starting now.
All right. So we got just about another hour on figure drawing sets. Let's take a look at what people are doing. Yeah, post them if you got them in the chat. Right here. Go, some more raboots. Yeah. I am exhausted today. Had a lot of on and off energy days. Today is kind of an off energy day for me, but that's okay. You still gotta. The reason why you like put in time and effort on days like this when you don't have the best energy is because you are giving yourself a visual. You're struggling for one thing. You're struggling. You're giving yourself your visual memory and your thought process a workout, even if you're not feeling even if you're not like feeling your best, even if you're not feeling your best energy. And so that means that when you do get your energy back, you will exponentially still keep growing. I often find that I have my best days immediately after a day where my energy isn't so good. And I don't think I'm doing too bad today. It's just, I'm tired, so I feel like I can't put in the full 100% brain power that I normally would. That I was able to on several of the days last week. But that's to be expected. It's gonna be ups and downs and stuff. Also, I'm thinking of I'm also strategizing about some ways to get that energy back up and keep it up too throughout the week. Like I found a good pattern for how I do things on the normal weekdays when I do these classes, which is I usually get up pretty early in the morning and I put in like several hours like practicing and studying and vibing and enjoying myself and playing with stuff, and also doing like story development for the personal project work I'm working on. And then I come back later, like an hour or two before class, I start practicing again and warming up and stuff. And then I do the class, and sometimes I keep drawing after the class. And I had stupendous amounts of growth the last 2 weeks doing that. Today I got some warm-ups in this morning, but I didn't get a huge amount. And I was pretty tired, and I kind of feel like I'm gonna need a nap or something after we get done here today. I may actually have us take off a half hour early if I am feeling that fatigued, but we'll see. We'll see if we can go for a full hour at the very end. That might be a good idea. Yeah. Oh, actually, you know what? I just remembered. You know what I like to do whenever I'm fatigued? Do draw over studies. So I'm gonna do that. That sounds like fun. But first, let's take a look at what people are posting in chat. Playing with those traditional materials, good shit. Sketchy face, clocking some more in, playing with the figure rhythms and stuff. That's really cool. But yeah, let's see here. I'm going to yoink a bunch of still frames from Studio Trigger animation. Let's see, Little Witch Academia. Poses. Let's try poses. What's this? I think it's from one of the animation books. Yeah, okay. we'll start yoinking a bunch of Studio Trigger stuff. So here we go, pure ref right here. And I'm just going to yoink a bunch of stuff, and this will be what I do for the rest of the class. We'll be doing draw over studies. Okay, Google, stop. Let's give it a couple more minutes here, just to yoink these. I'm going to yoink these, and then I'm going to do draw over studies to kind of reorient myself a bit. Some very nice model sheets here, for sure. So the way I'm going to do this is I yoink a bunch of these. Oh, I already got that page. I yoink a bunch of these. Oh, there's some random Yo-Yo Shinari stuff. I'll throw that in there too. The way I'm going to do this is I yoink a bunch of these, and then I export them from PureRef as an image board, and then I just import them to the drawing canvas I'm working on. So we'll save this, put it as a little witch saves 1A, export that as an image board, sorry. Scene. Let's put it on desktop. Little witch mood board. There we go. Let's open that up. There's my mood board. Should be on the desktop. Oh, there it is, right there. Okay. There we go. Zoom. And we're good to go. I'll just start another set here. And I'm going to, this is what I'm going to do over here. You guys can go along with the figure poses on here. So, okay, Google, set timer for 20 minutes, 30 seconds.
20 minutes and 30 seconds. And we're starting now.
So I'm going to draw over these to kind of vibe with them. To kind of like break them down for line of action, look for like plane changes, look for different features and stuff that I can kind of mess with and sort of try to understand a little bit more. For example, this pose of Akko here. It's got a very, very nice kind of rhythmic thrust to her body, thrust and lean to her body. It's like this lovely telegraph about the 3D shape of her body using like her eyes. One eye is the eye that's going away from us is slightly smaller. The sense of that her hair is wrapping over her head. That's a sense of a center line. Got this very kind of plastic doll head that a lot of anime girl characters have. It's emphasized even more and kind of fused with some Western animation ideas and Studio Trigger character models a little bit. She's got a clear indication of like a center line with her character design. You can see it like right here, right there. Like there's telegraphs all over her character design about like what's happening, what she's doing. It's really cool. You kind of sense what direction or Her boot is pointed, even back here. There's this motion blur right here on the edge of her toe and on the foot. There. These poses kind of overlap each other, sadly, in the sequence, so we don't get to see the rest of her hand there, sadly. Here's like a flexible version of that kind of triangle shape I was showing off. Like this thing here that I've been using as kind of like a simple abstraction right there. I like how there's this feeling of kind of gummy mass to her body. Like there's this great sense of volume in a lot of Studio Trigger character work, for sure. Like I can sort of sense like the indication of the anatomy of the character design underneath the clothing here. It's really awesome. Look at that. Like I can sort of like deign that I can sort of like figure out that her arm is in here, but then there's like a little bit of a gap between the arm, her arm and her the arm and the fabric there of her sleeve. Limb that's going off over that way, and coming up because like there's this motion blur right here. The arm is going up over that way, kind of. Let's see, this is a really nice pose right here when she's turning over this way, so there's like this really cool thrust and line of action here. I like how her wrist is turned around right there in the back there. And when I say like try to think of the pose as a singular unit, I mean stuff like this, where like you can kind of unify everything that's happening here. Kind of like this, see? And you can see that reflected in like what her hair is doing, how her body is posed, even the prop right here. What her outfit's doing, and so on. See some other opportunities here. These are really fucking great poses. I mean, jeez. A gap between the pages. Whoopsie. Look at this, like that. You can feel like the upward thrust of her hips and like the drag on her limbs there as her body's like thrusting forward and stuff. Catching herself here, and you can see like that stuff I was talking about with like making that jump rope to correlate the limbs to each other. You can sort of see that happening here with like there's this curve here to her hand there, and her hand that's kind of turned away from us here. You can correlate the two limbs to each other with this kind of invisible jump rope between them a little bit. You can see that really nicely here. And you can see that on the ground in the shadow there. Really nice exaggerated expression here. I think I want to do like a lot of this kind of stuff tomorrow for sure. I'll get like lots of studio trigger stuff into my bloodstream. It'll be fun to do. And just put on a bunch of Little Witch Academia or something else tomorrow in the Discord. I think I might want to put on Kill la Kill sometime to rewatch throughout this week for sure. This next week will be a very studio trigger focused week in my personal Discord for sure. We're gonna mix it up with some Steve Houston too to kind of, because like stuff I did was like really delicate for the Riley method type warm up stuff, but the way Steve Houston draws, he draws very, very kind of, he marries like really strong gestural stuff with like he embeds the gesture directly into his shapes and volumes. So when you kind of like wrap your head around how he teaches a little bit better, you can get really you can get really dynamic stuff, and you really only need to look at like his like painting and drawing work to see what I'm talking about. This is how he draws and paints for himself and stuff, and for his like fine art stuff. See how like expressive that stuff is, and how physical, like this exertion of energy and stuff, and power and intensity in his work. Stuff, his boxing series is really amazing too. Like this is really, I wish I had a better quality image of this, but you can kind of see, you can kind of sense how powerful that image is from that. Yeah, like learning from him, getting more into him, your drawings are definitely not going to be very stiff. The solidity, combining the solidity of his approach with like really push and expressive and powerful gesture and stuff is really what I'm looking forward to taking away from him by digging more into his stuff. So it's going to be a little bit of him. We'll probably we'll dip more into some perspective stuff this week too, because I kind of want to get really fluent with that so we could play with breaking it. And a good example of that kind of playful breaking with stuff was the stuff that Sketchy Face posted earlier in chat, where they were playing with it the same way that like a lot of storyboard artists play with perspective grids and stuff, like this kind of really expressive, fun, loose approach. This was what they were looking at to kind of riff off and get inspiration from. It's kind of abstract storyboard artist poses, and it's really, really kind of pushed perspective right there. So that's something we definitely want to vibe with, but we also want to take a dip into the linear rules of perspective as well this week for sure. Some people, whoa, wow. Look what's happening with Echo's face at the page margin there. Jesus, or the page border. I think I'll move into another sheet here. See if there's any juicy poses in here. How many pictures can I make in an hour? It depends on how not tired I am. Oh, this is an interesting. This is a sketch by Yo Yoshinari, I think, made for a Studio Trigger promo thing of some kind. So the thing about like the Little Witch Academia character designs is they really lend themselves to gesture drawing, like really, really well. They have like these loose cuffs and stuff that telegraph like what direction everything is. Like an animator who like knows the character model can kind of like have have a really fun time with like posing out Akko and the other characters. Like if you see like more of how Yo Yoshinari draws them, like they lend themselves really well to rhythmic drawing. And that's embedded in the clothes that the characters wear, and the way that they're posed on the show, and the way that they're animated and move. Cool too, because like they're drawn to be friendly for animators to animate. There's quite a considerable amount of complexity to them, but I mean, like, I'd like to actually see some Little Bitch Academia roughs to see how they start their scenes, but like you can kind of see like just like thinking of the character in like terms of like loose clothing wrapping around kind of expressive limbs like this kind of. You can see how like thinking of the character in those terms like this. It kind of plays on like the inherent like rhythms of like gesture drawing and stuff that we as animators and figure artists practice a lot. Oh, like you can kind of see what I'm talking about, like in these really, really small images of Echo there. And these are, of course, cleaned up versions. They do like a rough. They do like super rough versions, and then they tie them down, stuff. Even a lot of their faces are really designed to be easily animated. Like even this character, this character in particular has a really particularly easy face to kind of figure out. Simple round shapes, simple eyes that are usually closed, simple expressive mouth and stuff. This is a little bit more of a stiff drawing of Akko. It's a great drawing of Akko, but I think this one doesn't really feel like this one doesn't really feel like how she usually looks in the show. Like this one, I would normally probably want to see pushed more in the show, something like this. Because when you see Yoshinari drawing the character, you can kind of like the hair isn't the hair and the cuffs of the cuffs of the like the clothing really like feels like it's whipping up in the wind. You can kind of feel like the sense of like the lightness to the hair, kind of. You can kind of get a sense of the motion. I don't really get that quite as much in this drawing. This drawing seems mostly trying to replicate a character model, when the real magic of the character designs for this show is just how expressive that the artist who's drawing them can make them, and like how much they can push them. But like here, there's a really cool little kind of posing study draw over thing. You can see how counterposed the tilt of the hips are, the shoulders a little bit with the body there. I like how like the head is playing off the direction the body is facing. The body's kind of this kind of really super expressive abstract pose. Let's see, what's some other good ones? That one's a really great one. Magical girl casting a spell, but like really pushed and fun. Hand up there, hand all the way up there, almost like breaking a limb to get behind her back there and cheating it a bit. Knees close together. But this is a very kind of like, this kind of reminds me of like shoujo magical girl poses, but like played up with like kind of this fantasy this sort of like Art Nouveau fantasy whipped around hair, like that's what I'm thinking of. Like a lot of Little Witch Academia feels like loose gestural Art Nouveau art. Definitely has that vibe. Art Nouveau is all over the place in the world design of Little Witch Academia for sure. But I hadn't really thought about that in relation to the characters. Yeah, it's there, like, and just like in how her hair is handled, it looks like kind of like a gestural take on like a gestural kind of Art Nouveau looking mop of hair there. And then these characters right here, these characters are quite a bit simpler though, which makes sense because they're background characters, so they would tend to not be animated really kind of as crazily as like Akko or something. Akko's going to be like getting like the A-lister action scenes and stuff for the anime, so it doesn't make sense to overcomplicate these characters. It's not to say you couldn't give like a character like these to one of the star animators or something, and then have them have like a moment where the character might like break their character model a little bit to kind of go beyond what the model sheet says. It's really cool. It's really fun to do draw-overs of good animation art like this. I'm interested in finding out like what this pose sheet was for. I think in general, this is probably just like a general pose model sheet for the animators right here, trying to like get like a sense of like how Akko generally is postured. And like how pushed you can make the posing and stuff in the show. So as complex as she is, you can break down her shapes into kind of like these like hourglass figure. She's got like her limbs are well, let's take a look at this for example. Her limbs are kind of doing this thing where they're kind of like larger up here, smaller towards the elbow, larger towards the cuff. So it's just kind of this thing happening with her sleeve right here. Hand sticking out there. There's a lot of like these kinds of shapes in her body and arms. Like two masses pulling against each other a bit. Okay, Google, stop. What time is it? It is 4:56. Are we cool to keep going for the rest of the session? I'll just like put it over here. Let's take a look at what people are doing in chat. I'm cool with like just doing more Little Witch Academia studies for the rest of the session. That would be my dharma right now. But yeah. Cool, catchy. Get more in. Nice. Really trying to like establish the figure in 3D space. This one's not working so much, but I see you trying to struggle in the right direction. It's gonna take time for the stuff to set in. You got to keep like taking swings at it over and over again. Another thing that definitely helps is if you do draw over studies of animation where it's like really evident where the perspective is. Like let's see, where's that dead cells sheet that I made. I think I made a Dead Cells mood board somewhere. Yeah, there was like a Dead Cells still frames sheet that I made for one of the Dead Cells trailers that I did a bunch of studies for a couple weeks back. And they have really clear. Let me like find one of the frames, so I can show you when I'm talking about Dead Cells trailer. Oh, here we go. Here's one of them. Okay, so in this scene right here, immediately you can tell like the general perspective from like what the forward grid is here, where the vanishing point, where these lines are going to the vanishing point. You can tell this looks like it's probably 1 point perspective, I think. No, it's 2 point. Here's the reason why it's 2 point is look at this right here. That's going off to its own vanishing point. So you can kind of infer that these are going to be going off to some vanishing point further back there. The horizon is probably somewhere around here-ish, I want to say. But in any case, let's get rid of these. In any case, now that you kind of understand that, you can start thinking about what planes stuff are on this character, even though they're not drawn there. Like, this is the top plane of that leg there. This is a front plane of the box of the pelvis right here, for example. Side plane of the torso there. You can see like there's like a top plane right here, and a side plane kind of forearm there. There's some kind of like cheaty stuff happening here, like with this. But even here, like you can kind of see there's like a little bit of a bare indication of the different planes there. The shoulder pads also are basically kind of indicating what plane things are on there. This eye right here, it's a single dot with like a little V-shaped thing for like the brow, basically. But it too is like a vein kind of rules of perspective. It's kind of like looking up a little bit, I would say. Kind of draw through the form here. Like the front, the shin, the calf. Top plane of the foot right there. So there's like the side plane of this breastplate right here. This is the front. Yeah, and there's like this. There's like some kind of 3D wrapping stuff going over there. This is going off, going back to a vanishing point, back over that way. Like its own vanishing point almost. This is going to a vanishing point over there. This is going to a vanishing point over there. So the vanishing point for this would probably be about here. Vanishing point for this would be about here. This is like an exaggerated perspective about where this is. The horizon line is somewhere around where the eye level is of the protagonist here. There's other things too, like other rules that we've gone over in the class before. Like, so this limb is further back from us, so this limb is smaller. This limb is much bigger because it's in front. It's in front here. Like, you can kind of see that. Like, if I do like a micro-sized version of this, you can use little principles like that to kind of keep in mind when you're trying to when you're trying to do like faked forced perspective, or you're trying to exaggerate perspective, because what we're seeing right now is like a exaggerated perspective that's still playing off like existing rules, but there's little depth indicators you can use to kind of help with that. Yeah, I'm gonna go back to Little Witch Academia. I just wanted to show that real quick. Just like doing studies like that will kind of help you start wrapping your head around how these figures are supposed to like occupy 3D space. Like drawing the ground plane under them when you get like a scene from like the Dead Cells trailer, and like trying to work out roughly about where the masses of the limbs are and stuff. So we're gonna be starting our last set for the evening. Okay, Google, set timer for 20 minutes.
20 minutes, and we're starting now.
Okay, so you guys are going to be doing the figures. I'm going to be sticking with Little Witch Academia drawovers. My practice. And again, drawover practice looks like these are great for when you're not feeling necessarily your best. These are fantastic because then they get in your bloodstream, and they help you vibe and start internalizing this stuff so it comes out in your regular work. Like there's 1 or 2 drops of this stuff that is going to be like in my bloodstream this evening from doing this. And I have been overdue for doing drawover studies like these. Drawover studies are an essential tool for artists, whether you're doing drawovers from photographs or drawovers from existing artists. Like doing drawovers is an essential tool of studying. And the cool thing about them is if you're doing them over like existing artists or photographs also, you can do them even when you're not feeling your best, because it's a way for you to kind of wrap your head around something that might not be clicking either. And often when you are tired or fatigued like I am at the moment, it can be a little bit hard to kind of wrap your head around stuff. But this is a strategy to internalize some things that are going to come out a lot stronger when you do have the energy back. I'll have visual memory of wrapping forms over echo here. For example, thinking about like the attitude of her pose here, thinking about like how her head was turned away and the angle of her eye and her ear. Little bits and pieces of that are going to filter their way and when I'm solving other drawing problems or when I'm sketching my own work. Thinking about like how they handled the character design of the feet here. Like, because I've been handling like my feet like very, very simplistically and stuff, but this is kind of giving me some ideas of stuff to potentially play with my own character design. I love the flow that this pose has. Look at that. There's a great gestural flow to these for sure. I'd be down with you adding some like action studies over stuff like this, doing the for doing the homework this week too. Over existing artwork, not just photos. Do a mix of both, I would say. And so it is, since it is basically Studio Trigger week in my Discord, then I would definitely encourage studying Studio Trigger stuff this week for sure. Yeah, this next week we're definitely going to be watching like a lot of Studio Trigger stuff. That'll be loads of fun. Oh, I think I'm pretty close to my limit right now. I'm really very tired. I may have to just put the pencil down pretty soon. Let's take a look at what people are doing in chat. I'll let this session run out, but I think I've really got to call it a night here for me. But I'll leave it on here because I feel I really want to pick up where I left off with studying Little Bitch Academia tomorrow. But for now, let's take a look at what people are doing in chat while we finish out the evening. And if you're in the middle of the set right now, keep going with the set. I'm going to get up, stretch, and walk around. I'm done. I've put in my time today. I'm good. I'll get plenty of rest, and I'll be able to draw lots more tomorrow. How long has the stream been going on? A little over 3 hours, I'd say. The actual drawing session has been close to 3 hours now. This was a good session, though. I mean, I was really tired, but I did get a lot out of it. Like, the fact that I can do this much, even when I'm kind of feeling a little bit exhausted today, still good. And it still feels good. So next week we should be having a big blast messing with Studio Trigger stuff, Steve Houston, and some perspective stuff. Alex, we might wind up taking a little bit of a back burner for a little while, I think, because I think that other stuff might be really important to dig into. But we'll see how it goes. Also, FYI, we have several of the better Twitch TV emotes in Twitch chat. So this silly little emote right here is available to you in my Twitch session. That and like the pug, please. This little guy. Oh, that's really nice. I like that. Farashi, you're really trying to push things and really kind of feeling the flow here. I can definitely see it. Yeah, good shit. What's that weather one by? I think is it the same page, or are you adding more stuff to the page? Yeah. Yeah, it's the same page. Okay. Or did you accidentally post the same page twice there? Is that what happened? These are looking fun. Yeah, yeah. Kachi, these are really nicely expressive, I would say. These are good use of the animator's figure puppet. I think you're well on your way to utilizing this in animation and in storyboarding. Nice. Yeah. Anyway, the secret sauce to getting better is to just keep at it, even on your off days. You'll have on days and off days, and to draw lots. I've sort of, like I said, like my current pattern right now is I wake up early in the morning. I do lots of productive figure drawing practice and pose practice, and been working on like story sketches and other character development sketches for my personal work, and that inherently has like posing practice and figure character practice and stuff built into it. And then later in the day, whether or not if I have a class, then I do the class. I usually prep for the class. If I don't have a class, I I just use the extra time to chill and draw and practice more. That's been the pattern for the last 2 weeks, and it's been really good. Except for today, where I was really fatigued. I did some practice in this morning, but I definitely need some more resting time, which is fine. Few days have been more resty than others and stuff. Okay, Google, how much time left on timer?
You've got 6 minutes and 49 seconds left.
Very nice. Oh, also for those of you who are interested in participating in my personal Discord, here I'll link the info in the Twitch chat. Oh, not the Twitch chat. The in the classroom chat in Discord. Let's see here. Link is normally here in this section, but let's put it up in here. So if you want to participate tomorrow and throughout the next week, and the other stuff I was describing, which is studies and practice that's going to be happening off of my Monday, outside of my Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday Twitch sessions, you can join my Discord. Once you join my Discord, if you want to be pinged for the sessions that that I'm going to be having that are more involved, practice sessions or on and off. Sometimes we put on fun movies to watch. It's basically like an excuse to chill and jam. Sometimes we do more focused studying, group studying stuff. Other times we watch films together, things like that. If you want to be pinged more often for that, there's a section you can join here called Super Space Cadets. You click this little thing. You can click it to opt in and click it again to opt out. It turns your name green right here. And normally when you join my Discord, your name is orange, but it turns green when you're a Super Space Cadet. Click this, and basically there's a description of what it is here. It's like a normally I only ping the regular orange Space Cadets tag, like for example when today's class happened, I pinged it because the class is starting. But like if I'm doing like special fun things in Drawing Corner, for example, I'll be doing some Samurai Champloo studies, for example, like that, I'll ping there. So if you want to get in on that and you don't mind being pinged more frequently for that, you can opt in and out of that at your will. But if you do join my Discord, I do recommend leaving it unmuted, or unmuted. You can mute it or unmute it at your disposal, but try to keep it unmuted so you can be in on the study events that we have throughout the week, and also like when the classes go live. And just so you know, my class schedule is available in, let's see, service schedule right here. The service schedule you can sign up for. You can sign up for this thing right here, which will ping you about a half hour before class for the Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and this one synchronizes actually with your iPhone and iPhone calendar and your Google Chrome or Chrome calendar or your Android calendar devices. So it'll ping you before the classes begin. I do these like clockwork lately. The only time that I wouldn't be able to do them is if I got sick, or I will announce if I got sick or something came up, or I'll announce like a week in advance, usually if there's going to be a break week when I'm not going to be doing classes or something. But these are kind of free-form study sessions. So far, that it's mostly focused on figure drawing. Figure drawing pushed in the direction of storyboarding and animation. And the point being of doing all this is first off is to increase our like chops and ability to like do animation and think about action and stuff and solve drawing problems. But the other end of it is like for me, like it's also like building up me personally, because I've got a storyboarding class I'm going to be taking in a few weeks. It's this thing right here, Andy Kung's uninstructed live class, which is still available right now, by the way. I'm taking that a few weeks. In a few weeks. It starts in April, but he's a really fucking awesome storyboard artist with a lot of really great credits to his name. And so yeah, I'm taking that class. This is actually the same online school that Ethan Becker has been teaching a seminar through. I don't think his thing's listed here Oh, here it is. Is Animation Industry Fundamentals right here. Oh, good. Look at that. You can you can actually buy recordings of live classes. How about that? So I'm going to be able to actually be there for the live class. I presume I'll probably get access to the recordings of the live classes when they happen too, but yeah. Actually, no, wait, I think that if I'm in the live class, I probably won't get homework review, but I probably am going to be able to ask feedback and interact with them. So, okay, so that's probably what's going to happen with that. So that actually might be better than I realized. That's cool. Coming soon. Advanced character performance for storyboarding. When is this happening? This is happening March 2nd to April 6th. That might be something to keep an eye out for too. Awesome. So anyway, to get back to the server schedule stuff, it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday is 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. Saturday is 2:30 p.m. Pacific time. What do you mean you were already sick? You were recovering? I haven't been sick. I'm not recovering from anything. Okay, Google, stop. All right, so we're done with the session. Just pause it here for this last chaser pose for anyone who wants to draw that. We're gonna be shutting in the stream pretty soon, but I want to go over some Q&A in the chat if anyone has any questions about the class, what we're gonna be doing in my Discord for the next week, or whatever else. Let's see here. Actually, you know what? Let's do an after party in my Discord. For any of you who have not seen this week's episode of WandaVision, I'm going to air it in my Discord. We're going to pop over and down in I'm probably drawing corner tech, a giant corner voice right there, and I'll air the latest episode of WandaVision. How's that? So we'll do that after the stream ends. Just join up on the join up on my personal Discord for that. But let's take a look at what I want to see what people have done before we head out of here. So post whatever you got, so we can check it out before we go. Ooh. I do like how much Farashi is playing with the traditional tools and getting really nice, fun results with these. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's still little issues and stuff, but obviously there's always going to be. But this is I do get a sense of weight to this, and that they're planted on that foot for sure. Some of these get a little confused, but I do that there is sense of thrust here and there, and I see you trying to think about that too, indicating the arrow there. The other thing about that, like adding those arrows and things, those start making your brain start thinking fourth dimensionally a little bit more. So you start thinking more about the action. You start thinking like an animator when you're looking at the pose. You start thinking about other poses that the pose could take, and the before and after, where the pose is going, and the energy that's going through the pose. Stuff like that is good for making little shorthand notes if you're trying to work out an animated scene or something. Or make notes for yourself of what pose that you want to push further. Oh, you're welcome. I enjoy hosting these, or I wouldn't do them. I get a lot out of them. These sessions that I do, these are almost kind of a narcissistic self-discipline exercise where I do this, where I basically am doing my study sessions publicly to keep myself to a steady art workout schedule. What was that? Oh, the industry didn't kick me out. the animation industry didn't kick me out. That's not what happened. I just got sick, and then I couldn't work for a while. And then, and eventually I'll be able to rejoin the animation industry because I'm getting my shit together. Well, the other thing is I could have gotten a job by now, but I've decided, I'm not that desperate to get a job. I want to take my time to build myself up more and come back into the industry way stronger than I was before. Because if I join the industry, if I get back into the industry too quickly, I run the risk of like getting like burning myself out, or like or like or like making mistakes that would make it hard to get another job, you know. But I'm feeling like I'm in a pretty good spot lately. So like depending on what the role is and if it would be a good fit for me, I think it would be if I found a role that would be suitable for me right now, I would be just fine with re-entering the industry. But I'm not in any huge rush. I'm fine. I'm really happy with what I'm doing right now. I'm in a stable financial situation right now, where I can devote a tremendous amount of time to basically practicing art every day and studying animation and art and continually building myself up, where I'm basically like putting myself through full-time art school, more or less. And part of that is the classes. I have a budget that I put together, where that storyboarding class I was showing you guys is the first of about 3 to 4 total classes that I have budget for, that I'm going to try to spread out. I'm going to try to enroll in 1 or 2 more pretty soon for some other subjects. But first I want to try this one, because I want to kind of like self-discipline for it and stuff. There we go. Got any more poses? I'm just kind of like waiting for the other people to put. Anybody who has any questions, feel free to ask in the classroom text chat. After we get done here, there's going to be after party over at Spacedad Space Club, right up here. So we'll all join that up, and we'll check out the latest episode of WandaVision. When will you return the animation class? Hard to say, but part of it is like it depends whatever I'm currently doing and whatever I'm currently focused on. I think that, like, for example, if I got hired to work on an animation gig, then yes, absolutely, the animation class would come back, because then that would be a way to practice animation on my off time. For now, I'm feeling really good about continuing the momentum with figure drawing, because that's kind of building on the confidence of focusing on a particular thing. And like, because like designing strong poses for animation is really important. And when I return to animation, I'm going to have a lot more like strong fluency in being able to invent poses and stuff. That's nice. That's nice. Really playing with stuff. I wish I could give more in-depth critique, but I am pretty tired right now. So post some more in chat. I'm gonna actually let's dip through real quick to show you a little bit what I'm talking about. Let's see what some of the other stronger pages that I had from this week. Save that. I got that. Class demos. Action design. Yeah. Well, there's let's see. I think there's some stuff in here. Into it. Let's take a look at these warm-ups. Oops. Oh, yeah, this is what I wanted to show you. This is the homework for this week. I want you to do this. Basically what I did here. I did, you don't have to necessarily be the madman I was. I did 225 poses in less than an hour as a warm-up sheet for the day. Like, you don't have to go this bonkers with it, but this definitely did help. But this is just to give a good idea of like the scope and scale of like what it takes for me to get into good drawing gear. Like this this warm-up sheet led to a very productive day of drawing for me. Let's see here. Action design, what's this? Oh, yeah, I already got that sheet. Let's see. Let's try this. Oh, that's some older shit. No, actually, this was from last week, wasn't it? Yeah. I really like some of the stuff that came out of that sheet. I'm gonna have to do like I'm gonna have to go back through some of these and pick some best ofs from these, I think. For sure. There's a lot of fun stuff I got to play with on these this last week. Yeah. So, let's wrap it up here. Let me just take a quick look. At Discord real fast, then we'll pop over to my personal Discord. Then we'll watch WandaVision. Oh, that's nice. Yeah. More traditional stuff. Still kind of wrestling with line confidence there, I see, but it's like I want to see you try to push the confidence you had on this stroke here throughout the rest of the figures, if you can. Yeah, these ones I think are too much of the contour of the figure and need to have more of a sense of the internal gesture to them. Keep coming back to my classes and I'll be able to address some of that more in depth. I actually do like this figure though, and I do like this. There is a sense of a line of action along this side of the figure here that I like. But so the rest of these kind of get a little confused. Except for this one right here, except that limb's a little long, but this figure overall kind of works for me. Let's see. Yeah. Alright, so you're gonna see me leave the classroom chat, but I'm gonna pop in here and then I'm going to shut down Twitch so we can watch stuff together. So I'm gonna pop over here right now so you can see on screen. And I'll see you then. Goodbye.